Hi, this is Neil Bellon, and this is part two of a series of videos dealing with tactics and demonstrating my teaching approach when working as a chess coach and teaching tactics to a student. And in part one, I gave some basic information about tactics and had a simpler position than this. And I mentioned that a tactical move is generally the outgrowth of already having a good position. That's usually where a tactical sequence occurs, but as this game shows, tactics can happen even if you're losing or if the position's even. It can completely turn the game around, which is why you always need to be alert. And in this position, I was black here. I was not doing well. I was getting kicked around the whole game. My opponent sacked an exchange earlier to get this position. Sacking an exchange means, of course, when you give up a rook for either a bishop or a knight. And even though he sacked an exchange, he's winning. You know, white is definitely better here. And let's take a look at what's happening and what led to the tactical shot that allowed me to turn it around. Basically, there is a mate threat here with the queen and bishop for white, so the only thing defending it is my knight on g5, and in addition my queen's being attacked right now. So right now the mate is taken care of, so I have to get my queen out of the way. So I did queen e3, and at this point white needs to do something like like knight g4 maybe, but he's definitely winning. He just needs to watch, maybe something like bishop a3 even, attacking the rook here. But he's thinking about mating me. He wants to mate here. And so what black did was this, okay? He did h4. Double question mark. Okay? That was white's move, h4. And when I saw this, this allowed me to get right back into the game. And so what I'll do with a student, I'll say, okay, let's say your opponent played h4. I said, what would you do here as black, and what's your assessment of the position? So I can really get into their thinking. And when I saw this, I mean, by this point in the game, I was exhausted. My brain was fried. He was kicking me around the whole game. I was having an off night, and which happens. I have no problem admitting that. A lot of chess teachers, they make you think that they always are perfect, and it's not going to happen. We're all human. I was having a bit of an off night, and but despite the fact that I was losing most of the game, I hung in there as best I could. So at any rate, he did h4, and I immediately saw this, queen h3 check, and I think my opponent missed that. I'm assuming he missed it. Maybe he didn't see that the queen could go across, or maybe he wasn't worried about it. But I think what led to this mistake was that he just got impatient. He just wanted to kick that knight out of the way. And just a little note about mistakes. They did a study, and they said that the three most missed moves, and this supposedly is among players of all levels, like beginners to grandmasters, the three most missed moves are retreating knight moves, knights going backwards. They say those are hard to see. Retreating diagonal moves, and play along a rank. We're so used to thinking vertically on the file with the queen and rook that people miss, moves like this across. So I'm assuming this was just an oversight. He got impatient. He missed that. And now black's completely back in the game. And I want to get to the heart of the position, which is the tactical shot that this position's all about. And this is, a little more of an advanced position, that I would show a student. But anyway, he's in check now. He went king g1, queen g3 check. It's really the only logical follow-up black has. King f1. And now here, a very critical position. There's only one move that allows black to keep his advantage. Because if I do something like queen h3 check, that just leads to a draw. Okay, it's very drawish. Now, do you see what it is? Now you got to see. My knight's being attacked. If I move the knight, he's gonna mate down here. So what do? I have to deal with the mate threat. I have to deal with my knight, and I have to say, is there some way I can get to his king? Can I counterattack? And truth be told, at this point, I was very tired. In this particular club, there was no air conditioning. It was like in the middle of August, so you really just need to muster up your strength and just hang in there. And the fact that he played that blunder really allowed me to get back into the game. So anyway, knight e4. That's the move. Do you see it? Beautiful move. What it does, it blocks the bishop by stopping any mate threat. And now look, I'm threatening mate of my own on f2. So anyway, he then did this. Rook f3. And that's a mistake. Do you see why? And this is really the position I would show the student. We would get to this point. What's black's best move here? What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you what it is, and then we'll analyze it first. It's this. Queen takes f3. And game's pretty much over. Black's completely winning now. Beautiful shot. And the reason it works is because of the position of the white king and black's knight. And the point of me showing this is not to pat myself on the back, but just to show you that even if you're losing, tactics can completely turn things around. Okay? So I went from after his h4, I went from getting the advantage again to now completely winning. And the reason it works, let's look at the variations. If he takes with the queen, okay, just to throw this in, it really works because you have these two forks here, as we'll see. Knights are very nasty when they're in your opponent's camp. So let's look at it. If he takes with the queen, okay, which is probably the best defense, even though he's losing, that's really the best way to deal with it. I have this. Knight d2 check. Okay? And then when he moves his king, let's say he goes here, I then take back with check, getting my investment back, but then he gets my knight. So I win an exchange. I win an exchange as a result. Okay? You see that? I'll just do that again. Sorry, let me just go back. So queen takes f3, and then if he goes queen takes f3, knight d2 check, king e1 takes, and then takes. Okay? Now, if he plays the other way, he loses even more material, which is what he did. If he goes knight takes f3, which is what he did, I then go here. And when I played that, he was like, oh, I didn't see that. But that's another one. And now I win a rook. Why? Because this is undefended. So after he moves his king, I just take there. Now I won a rook. So it's white's not doing too well. And it just goes to show you that, even if you're in a losing position, I mean, look, this bishop is terrible. They call that a tall pawn because it's almost like a pawn because it's blocked. It's really not even in the game. I mean, you could take this bishop off the board. It's like not even there. But because white made a mistake, because I was alert to tactics, I was able to turn the game around. And that's something that I like to impart to my students. So just before we go, let's just take a look at the tactical shot again. He did rook f3. Okay? And what I would do with the student is, of course, we would analyze it without moving the pieces. Okay? What I just did was just for the sake of clarity, but I would want my student to say, okay, if you go, queen takes f3, let's say he figures it out, or I help him figure out that queen takes f3 is the correct move, I would say, well, how do you handle white's different responses? And what black needs to see here is that this knight is like in the perfect spot because you have a fork there. All right, and if the queen takes f3, you have a fork there. So that's why it works. And again, you really have to be careful. I thought, even though I saw that after a few minutes, I took a lot of time just to make sure that I wasn't making a mistake. So queen takes f3, okay? If he takes with the queen, okay, we then fork there and get the queen back, okay? And really that's the best way because he'll win the knight back, right? Because after, if the king moves, takes and then takes. The other way, which is what he played, is after rook f3, queen takes. The other way is knight takes f3, but again, that's even worse because of this. And then, the king moves, and then I take there. So I hope this was helpful. This was a much more advanced problem, and it really shows you that tactics are valuable no matter who's better in the position, and it can turn things around. Thank you.